The last thing you expect to hear at your own father's one-year memorial dinner is your mother announcing her engagement to his brother. The absolute rock bottom. Very last thing. But that's exactly where I was, standing in a rented-out restaurant function room, a glass of lukewarm water in my hand, watching my mom, Sarah, get all teary-eyed next to my uncle, Rick. My dad, her husband of 22 years, had been gone for exactly 365 days. And here she was, clinging to his brother's arm like a life raft. But honestly, that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was when she raised her champagne glass, looked right at my cousin Kevin, Rick's son, and announced that she had just given him my entire college fund. My dad's entire life savings for me. To him. The whole room went quiet. I could feel dozens of pairs of eyes darting between me, my mom, and my dead father's portrait sitting on a nearby easel. In that moment, I didn't feel sadness. I didn't feel anger. I felt nothing at all, just a cold, terrifying calm. And I knew right then and there that this wasn't the end of a tragedy. It was the beginning of a war. And let me tell you, it all started the day after we buried my dad. My dad, Mark, was the best guy. Seriously. One of those guys who coached Little League, flipped pancakes into animal shapes on Saturdays, and taught me how to change a tire. His death was sudden, a heart attack at 51. It shattered our world. My mom was a wreck, and I, at 17, was just trying to figure out how to breathe without him. His brother, Rick, stepped in immediately. At first, it seemed like a blessing. He helped with the funeral arrangements, mowed our lawn, fixed the leaky faucet Mom had been complaining about for months. "I've got to look after my brother's family," he'd say, clapping me on the shoulder with a hand that always felt a little too heavy. My cousin Kevin, Rick's only son, was there too. Kevin was Kevin. 20 years old, perpetually unemployed, and carrying himself with the unearned confidence of a trust fund baby, except there was no trust fund. He was always on to the next big thing, day trading, drop shipping, flipping sneakers, all of which inevitably ended with him asking his dad for a loan. He offered me his condolences at the funeral, smelling faintly of vape juice and Axe body spray, before asking if he could borrow my dad's old gaming console since, he wouldn't be using it anymore. I just stared at him until he shuffled away. That should have been my first clue. The college fund was my dad's pride and joy. From the day I was born, he'd put money aside. He wasn't rich, just a mechanic who worked his butt off, but he was disciplined. He'd always tell me, "Amy, I don't care what you do, but you're gonna have the choice. You won't be stuck like I was." That account was my future. It was the last, most tangible piece of him I had left. It was over $100,000. A sacred promise. A couple of months after the funeral, things started to feel off. Uncle Rick was always at our house. His truck was in the driveway when I left for school, and it was there when I got home. I'd come downstairs for a glass of water at midnight and find him and my mom talking quietly on the couch, their heads close together. It felt wrong. It felt disrespectful. One night, I finally got the courage to say something. "Mom," I started, trying to keep my voice casual. "It's nice that Uncle Rick is helping out so much, but isn't he here a little too often? It's like he lives here." My mom immediately got defensive. Her whole body tensed up. "What are you trying to say, Amy? Rick is my brother-in-law. He's grieving too. He's just being supportive. You should be grateful." "I am grateful," I said. It's only been 3 months since Dad died. It feels fast." "Don't you dare," she snapped, her voice sharp. "Don't you dare imply anything. I'm your mother, and I am grieving the love of my life. You have no right to judge how I handle it." I dropped it. What could I say? But the seed of unease was planted, and it was growing fast. A month later, the seed blossomed into a full-blown nightmare. Mom and Rick sat me down in the living room, the same living room where Dad and I used to watch football. They were holding hands. "Amy," my mom began, her eyes shining with a kind of happiness that made my stomach turn. "Your uncle and I have grown very close through all this. We've found comfort in each other." Rick squeezed her hand. "What your mom is trying to say, kiddo, is that we're together now. We're a couple." I think I literally stopped breathing. I looked from my mom's smiling face to my uncle's. He was my dad's brother. They shared the same blood. He had stood at my dad's grave and thrown a fistful of dirt on his coffin. I felt dizzy. No, was all I could manage to say. No, you can't. We can, my mom said, her smile faltering. And we are. I know it's soon, but love doesn't wait. Your father would want me to be happy. That's when I lost it. Dad would want you to wait more than 4 months before you started dating his brother. I yelled, standing up. This is sick. It's a betrayal. What is wrong with you? The argument was brutal. She called me a selfish child. I called her a monster. Rick just sat there, looking smug, like he'd won some kind of prize. I ran up to my room and slammed the door, the sound of my own sobs echoing in the house. That was the first major crack in our relationship. The next one would shatter it completely. Life became a living hell. Rick basically moved in. They didn't even try to hide it. They'd go on dates, leaving me home alone in the house that felt more and more like a mausoleum. Then, the money started to flow. My dad had a life insurance policy, a modest one, but enough to keep us comfortable. Suddenly, there was a new 70-inch TV in the living room. My mom started getting her nails done every week. Rick was driving around with brand new, expensive tires on his truck. The breaking point came with Kevin. Of course it did. Kevin, in his infinite wisdom, had managed to get a DUI and wrap his car around a telephone pole. He was fine, but his car was totaled and his license was suspended. A few weeks later, a brand new, shiny red Mustang appeared in Rick's driveway. A 21st birthday present for Kevin, apparently. A $50,000 car. I knew. I just knew where the money came from. I confronted my mom while she was cooking dinner. Rick and Kevin were out for a joyride. You bought Kevin a car, didn't you? I asked, my voice shaking with rage. She didn't even turn around from the stove. We helped Rick get it for him, yes. Your cousin was in a terrible accident. He was traumatized. Traumatized? He was drunk driving, Mom. And you used Dad's money to reward him for it? She slammed a pot down on the stove. It is MY money now, Amy. Mark left it to me to take care of this family, and that includes his brother and his nephew. No, I screamed. He left it for you and me. For our future. Not to buy a sports car for a deadbeat who can't even hold a job. Kevin is family, she said, her voice dangerously low. And you need to start accepting that Rick and Kevin are a part of this family now. A very important part. I just walked away. There were no words. The battle lines were drawn. I retreated into my own world, focusing on my grades, my college applications, counting down the days until I could escape. I thought the college fund was my golden ticket, my one untouchable lifeline to the future my dad wanted for me. I was so wrong. Senior year was a blur of AP classes and SAT prep. When the time came to start filling out financial aid forms, I needed the account information for the college fund. I asked my mom for the statements. Oh, I've got them somewhere, she said, waving her hand dismissively. I'll dig them out for you. A week passed. I asked again. I've just been so busy, honey. I'll get to it. Another week. My guidance counselor was starting to pressure me for the paperwork. This time, I cornered her in the kitchen. Mom, I need the bank statements for the college fund. Now. The deadlines are coming up. She sighed, refusing to meet my eyes. She wiped down the already spotless counter. Amy, we need to talk about that. A cold dread washed over me. Talk about what? Things have changed, she said softly. There's been an opportunity. A really great one for Kevin. I just stared at her. What does Kevin have to do with my college fund? And then she told me. Kevin had an idea. A brilliant, can't-miss business venture. He wanted to start a high-end lifestyle brand, whatever the hell that meant. All he needed was some seed money, some capital to get it off the ground. You're kidding me, I whispered. Please tell me you're kidding. It's a fantastic investment, Amy, she said, finally looking at me, her eyes pleading. Rick and I looked over the business plan. It's solid. This is going to set Kevin up for life. It's an investment in the family's future. What about MY future? My voice cracked. Dad saved that money for 20 years for me. For my education. It was his promise to me. And you'll still go to college, she insisted. People take out loans all the time. It's normal. Kevin doesn't have that option. He needs this start. Sometimes, in a family, one person's needs are just more urgent than another's. I felt the floor drop out from under me. How much? I asked, my voice hollow. How much did you give him? She took a deep breath. We gave him what he needed to get started on the right foot. How much? Mom. All of it, she whispered. We had to give him all of it. $116,000. Gone. Given to my idiot cousin for a lifestyle brand. The betrayal was so absolute, so profound, it felt like a physical blow. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just turned around, went up to my room, and started making a plan. My mom had just declared war on her own daughter. She had no idea who she was dealing with. Which brings us back to the memorial dinner. My dad's one-year memorial. My mom and Rick had insisted on it. To honor Mark's memory, they'd said. The hypocrisy was breathtaking. I knew they were going to use it as a stage, a way to legitimize their relationship in front of my dad's side of the family, my grandparents, my aunts, my uncles. I let them. I played the part of the dutiful, grieving daughter. I smiled politely. I made small talk. I waited. After the main course, Rick tapped his glass with a fork. He and my mom stood up, beaming. We just want to thank you all for coming, Rick began. This year has been tough, losing my brother. But through that tragedy, Sarah and I found something beautiful. We found each other. My mom was crying, dabbing her eyes with a napkin. And so, we wanted you all to be the first to know. We're getting married. A polite, hesitant applause trickled through the room. My paternal grandparents, my dad's mom and dad, looked stunned. Then, my mom decided to twist the knife. And I also want to share some more wonderful news, she said, her voice filled with pride. As a family, we are all about investing in our children's futures. And I am so proud to announce that I have helped my amazing future son, Kevin, launch his very own business. I know Mark would be so happy. She raised her glass to Kevin, who was puffing out his chest at a nearby table. That was it. That was my moment. I stood up slowly. I wasn't holding a glass. My hands were steady at my sides. I just have a question, Mom, I said, my voice cutting through the silence. It wasn't loud, but it was clear and cold as ice. Every head in the room turned to me. My mom's smile froze on her face. Yes, sweetie. When you say you're investing in Kevin's future, are you talking about the college fund that Dad spent my entire life building for me? You could have heard a pin drop. Rick's face went white. Kevin looked like a deer in headlights. My mom stammered, Amy, this isn't the time or the place. I think it's the perfect time and place, I said, turning my gaze to my grandparents, whose faces were masks of confusion and horror. Because I just found out last week that my entire college fund, every single penny Dad saved for me, is gone. Mom gave it all to Kevin for his business. I just think it's important for everyone here, on the anniversary of his death, to know exactly how my father's memory is being honored. The explosion was instantaneous. My grandpa, a man I had never heard raise his voice in my life, shot to his feet. Sarah, is this true? He boomed, his voice shaking with fury. My mom just stood there, speechless, her face crumbling. My grandma started to cry. The room erupted into chaos, with my dad's siblings shouting questions at my mom and Rick. I just stood there and watched the fire I had lit burn it all down. The aftermath was swift and brutal. My grandparents pulled me aside, took me home with them that very night, and told me I would never have to set foot in that house again. The next day, my grandpa, who had helped my dad set up the college fund in the first place, made some calls. It turned out the account was a Uniform Transfer to Minors Act (UTMA) account. My mom was the custodian, but she had a fiduciary duty to use the money for my benefit and my benefit alone. Using it to fund her nephew's ridiculous business venture was a massive breach of that duty. It was illegal. We lawyered up. It wasn't even a fight. Faced with a lawsuit they couldn't possibly win, my mom and Rick were forced to pay back every single cent. They had to sell the brand new Mustang. Rick had to take out a second mortgage on his house. They had to drain their own savings. It was glorious. Dad's entire side of the family cut them off completely. They weren't just uninvited from holidays, they ceased to exist. My mom tried to call me a few times, leaving tearful voicemails about how I had destroyed the family and how could I do this to my own mother. I never picked up. I never called back. As far as I'm concerned, my mother died right alongside my father. The woman who replaced her is a stranger to me. I'm now in my second year at my dream university, studying to be an engineer. My grandparents are my biggest cheerleaders. I have my dad's work ethic and, thanks to him, zero student debt. I'm happy, I'm healing, and I'm free. As for Kevin, his lifestyle brand went bankrupt in 6 months. Turns out selling $50 t-shirts with a generic logo on them isn't a solid business plan. Who knew? He's back to living in Rick's basement, except now his dad is broke and his aunt despises him for costing them everything. Poetic justice, I guess. So yeah, taking my own mom to court in the year after my dad died was not something I ever imagined I'd do. It was messy and it was painful. But it taught me that sometimes the family you choose is the one that really matters, and you have to be willing to fight for the future your real family, the one who truly loved you, always wanted for you. And honestly, the story of what my mom tried to pull during the legal deposition is a whole other level of crazy. So if you want to hear more, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe because you are not going to believe